G'day ladies and gents, and welcome back to War Thunder. Yes, that is correct. I am playing the Hunter F6 again. And you might be thinking, well, a patch ago you didn't really like the Hunter F6, and you would be 100% correct. And to be honest, that opinion still sort of stands. I really do think that the Hunter F6 is not really that good against the F100. And to be honest, that is the main reason, and I did state that in the video, as to why I really don't like it. I didn't like the performance of the plane, not necessarily the performance of the missiles. Obviously, the missiles are really, really amazing. As you can see, I've managed to get myself a kill, and I didn't even have to look. I'm about to get myself a crit, and, that's pretty cool as well. No other missile in the game can do that. But, and there is one big but, the plane performance is subpar. And that is the reason why I don't like it. Obviously, now that the enemies in that rough concentration has changed, there are fewer 10.0s that I'm facing, more 9.0s, 9.3s. You can see MiG-17 ASs, F5s, F2s, F-35s, F-25s, A5 Sabres, a lot more subsonics, and this plane does really well against them. A little bit too well almost. But against the supersonics, it starts to really struggle because it can't really keep up with some of them, and at the same time, the AOA and the pull of the plane, just the sheer pull of the supersonics, outdoes the Hunter at pretty much every speed. There's really not a whole lot, and sure, you have the energy retention of, it's the Hunter, for God's sake. It has some of the best energy retention of any jet in the game. That doesn't have an afterburner, of course. But, as I was saying, it doesn't really matter because everyone else is running afterburning jet engines, and they're all supersonic. So, what does it matter when they can catch you every single time in almost every single situation? The Hunter F6 needs its support, and that's exactly what I do in this game. This is why I've been enjoying it a lot more, because there are fewer of those types of planes that can really, really lay the hurt on me. Basically, I've been getting down-tiered more. And to be honest, it's enjoyable. It is enjoyable, and it is definitely a good jet. I do not enjoy the performance, though. And that is where I've always struggled with the Hunter F6. Not only that, but against things like the F100, which can literally do that the best. They can pretty much dive on you, sit on their air brake. They don't even have to afterburn, and they can pretty much just sit on your tail all game and spray at you with 600 or 700 rounds of 20 mil. It's not fun, but in a match where you don't get that, and where you have increasing teamwork, yes, that's right, in this match, I'm going to get some good teamwork. You can have a really good time in the Hunter F6. And that's what I've started to become a reality here, playing the Hunter F6. I'm getting teammates that maybe they're just snakes and they just want kills, but every time I seem to bait, most of the time, as long as there's at least 2 or 3 teammates left, I'll seem to get that every single time. Someone will come and take that plane that's been baited. And it's really, really good. This plane works so well in a squad, but solo, it's really, really tough. Especially considering that online games are not really the place where you go for teamwork. Anyone will tell you that. Anyone who's played any online game will tell you that. And it's a well-known fact. But, in this case, I'm going to try and use my plane to support my team. The Hunter F6 needs its friends. It doesn't like being lonely. If you want to think of it that way, then make sure that you stick by all of your teammates, nice and close. Maybe not necessarily touching their wingtip and flying in formation, but in a spot where you can intercept enemies. And as you can see, I'm heading for this F Sabre, who just shot down the A5 Sabre. And that's really not ideal. You can see that I was on my way, and I did say sorry to the A5 Sabre for not getting there in time, which is very disappointing. But what the A5 Sabre has done for me is made that F Sabre extremely slow, and I don't think the F Sabre notices me. So what I'm able to do is sneak up behind it, come up behind it, and give it a blast with my big old 30 mil. There it goes, and that's kill number 4. I'm absolutely crushing in this match because my team is doing some of the hard work and I'm doing some of the hard work for them. What do I mean by this? They're making enemies slow for me and I'm making enemies slow for them, like the MiG-17 AS at the beginning of the match. They're doing the same for the MiG-19, and in a moment I'll be doing that for this MiG-19 so that hopefully maybe the Sabre or maybe a Hunter or someone else can get the kill, because you can see I'm really not that great with the 30 mils. I'm genuinely struggling to aim these 30 mils again. And here is probably my biggest mistake of the whole game. I went and committed to the 19S. I shouldn't have done that. But at the same time, this puts me in a spot of importance in the match. I have to be the one right here and right now to bait for that F-Sabre. That is my job, and I will make sure that it is done to a T. And to make sure that it is done, and I will keep doing it until the F-Sabre gets a kill. And that is what I have to focus on. So what I'm doing is I'm doing some rolls, and I'm combining some rolls with a little bit of rudder to try and throw that MiG-19S off, because I know the MiG-19 doesn't have a great rudder, especially at higher speeds and at, slightly higher angles of attack. I'm putting my air brake out to try and slow myself and the MiG-19 down for the F-Sabre, because I know it's not a fast jet compared, but you can see I'm starting to run out of energy, and the MiG-19S does get a really good shot on the inside of my wing, and I'm starting to panic. I'm starting to use the rudder, put in a little bit of negative G just to avoid it there, and the F2 finally makes the kill. My job is done. This is how you play the Hunter. But, granted, try not to put yourself in risky situations like that, which can end up losing your plane. In this situation, what I should have done is I should have continued to go for the vertical, because I had a lot of energy and I didn't really think about the Hunter's energy retention at the time. All I wanted to do was get in that dogfight and perhaps quickly get that MiG-19 that I missed. But what I should be doing is playing a bit more carefully. And this applies to planes like the F4 Phantom as well. Anyway, what I'm going to do now is go back to base and rearm. I have no SRAMs and I'm damaged, so the smartest thing to go and do is rearm and repair. It is now turned into a 3 versus 3. And soon it will be a 3 versus 2. In fact, I think it already is a 3 versus 2 because the F2 crashes on the runway on landing. The F4C on my team, who I believe his name is Lieutenant Senpai, lovely name, he'll be the MVP for the rest of this match. Turns out that this particular pilot here in the F4 Phantom doesn't really trust himself with his gun pods. So, he does a good job in the end. We're going to clutch this out, 3 versus 2. That F-Sabre's already cheated death once, and I'm happy to put him into the ground once more. You can see I really don't want him to get to the F4, because if I end up with a MiG-19 behind me or a MiG-17 behind me, then I'm not really going to have a good time. It's going to be tough. Why is that? Well, very simple. The MiG-19 can outrun me, and the MiG-17 can outturn me. The Sabre can do a little bit of both, and that's kind of scary. I really don't want that. Not only that, the MiG-19 can sit behind me, and so I need someone who can clean up those that sit behind me. And the same for Lieutenant Senpai. This Sabre is going to be a bit of a bane and a little bit of a pain in the arse, to be honest, who decides that, maybe strafing the runway is going to be a good idea. So what do? I follow him in. I don't want him to take out this F4 because that is going to be my saving grace. And thankfully, he J's out on the runway and then spawns back in. If you're completely repaired, you can actually do that. And, I don't blame this guy. I would do it too. Especially considering that it is a 3 versus 2. This guy has already cheated death once, and I'm ready to clap him again. I really don't want this guy strafing out my mate. But thankfully, the F4 has one good thing up its sleeve, and that is its low-speed acceleration. Every time I take off in the F4, I feel like Tyler 1 making those car sounds. That's exactly how I feel. And that thing absolutely belts down the runway. It's so good. But now, he's belting away from this Sabre, And I know that missile is not going to hit. It's just not going to hit. But hopefully he gets the rocket is launched warning, or yeah, the missile warning, which is horrible to be honest. But he manages. Hopefully I'll get him to convince him to turn away. And that is almost exactly what I will try and do. He sort of turned away when he first saw it, but now I've got a MiG-19 on my ass, and I try it one more time just to get him to go. And he has to turn, and there it is. He's no longer a threat to my F4 Phantom. That's good news for me, but it's cost me 2 missiles, which I could have gotten 2 kills off. And now, the MiG-17 is about to join the party. I have a MiG-19 on my ass. I also have an F2 right in my gun sights and in my missile sight. Yes, that's going to strike. That's going to be my ace. And now I'm in a bit of a predicament. Cheeky dodge of a missile, and the F4 dodges the MiG-17. So what I'm going to try and do now is I'm going to try and string the MiG-19 out. This is what I like to call it stringing him out. Because I'm leading the MiG-19 away from the MiG-17 because both of us are faster. And then I'm going to try and make the MiG-19 slow for a little bit just for the F4 to come in and yoink the kill. As you can see, it's looking a little bit hairy, actually. The MiG-19 is able to get a shot onto me briefly, and I thought that was going to be the end of me right there and then. But the Hunter F6 is actually pretty sturdy, and Lieutenant Senpai comes and takes the kill. Beautiful job for the F4, and again, this is exactly what you do in the Hunter. Any fast plane, you end up baiting for your team, and your team baits for you. That's how it works. And that's how these planes absolutely shine. You need to be really considerate of your team in these situations, and you also have to be wary of your surroundings. You can see this MiG-17 is a MiG-17 AS, and I think that's the guy that I crit earlier on in the match with an SRAM. He's back for revenge, and I need to put the nose down, get past that 800-900 kilometer mark, so that I can start accelerating away from this MiG-17, because that is where I absolutely become ridiculous. Above that 800 mark. And because I've dropped speed facing the MiG-19 and I've taken damage, I'm having to build that back up really slowly. Now I see that rocket is launched text on the screen, which I really should change. But I realize that the MiG-17 AS is out of missiles. So that's not me firing them. That's the Phantom. He's got AIM-9s on him, or AIM-9Es, something like that. And then that's my cue to stay still. That's not for me, because it's been locked onto the MiG-17. And I made a couple of little errors. Little error of judgment there. And I also make a little error here. I try to turn into the MiG-17, and I overcommit to the right-hand turn, and he puts it into a left-hand turn. I'm going to try and follow him, just so I can get that SRAM on, and I know that if I can let that SRAM lock, I'm going to get the kill, because the SRAM has a 20G tolerance. But it doesn't happen. So I give up, I continue going straight, I need my speed really badly. Because if I don't use my speed, he's going to get me, because he's got turn on me. And I try and go again, hoping this guy puts himself into a turn, but he goes for a cheeky head-on, and I waste my last SRAM. That's pretty bad. That's pretty poor performance from me. I'm trying really desperately to get this guy while he's focused on the Phantom, but I'm realizing that it's just not working. So instead of committing to this turn, I end up just putting the nose down and going for speed. And thinking, you know what? I'm not going to go for the 6th kill. Lieutenant Senpai can have this one. I'm going to try and bait, and I'm going to, put my smoke on, of course. Because why wouldn't I? And you can see that he's sort of looking at going for me, then seeing the Phantom. Then he's going to come back for me, and then the F4 is going to come and swoop on him. It's a pretty standard tactic, but it's so underused in War Thunder that it never really does anything. It never really gets anywhere. Because, let's face it, teamwork really isn't a thing in War Thunder, because no one communicates with each other. No one talks. So, if you're in a match, use at least the auto commands, T1, T4, all those, the good ones. But you don't really have to use, you don't really have to type. You just have to use the quick chat commands. And they help a lot. letting someone know that you're going to take someone off their 6, saying, attack this guy, and then going into a bait for him can really, really help. And you can see that now I've put myself into a precarious position, and we've sort of established roughly what is going to happen, because I've shown him. See, look, I bait for you, and you come and swoop in. It's good? Yes, let's do it again. Let's do it again. And again until we get it right. And eventually, we will get it right, because you can see that I'm trying to bait the MiG-17 into a straight line, which is easier for the Phantom, and he finally gets the kill. There he goes over the top of me. That has to be one of the most satisfying carries that I've ever played in War Thunder. Not because I got so many kills, but because we worked so well as a team. It was incredible, genuinely fun, and genuinely incredible to play. And honestly, if it wasn't for a plane that I had to play very, very, strict, I probably wouldn't have had this match. If it was an F100, I probably would have tried for the kills and maybe failed in the process. But because it was the Hunter F6, I think that was the deciding factor in that match. Anyway, ladies and gents, I hope you enjoyed. Big shout out to Lieutenant Senpai. Take care, and I'll catch you next time.